Hello beautiful people, you're welcome to another wonderful tutorial. My name is Dolapo. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a particular ruffle design. So I have with me the materials I'll be using for this project. Okay, I have this fabric and it is stretchy. It is light and it is stretchy. So I have 1 yard with me. I have fiber. This is fiber foam, and this is sold by those who sell furniture making materials. Now I have my matching thread and long needle. I have my measuring tape and scissors, so you can decide to embellish to your taste. Then the choice of fabric depends on you. You don't have to use this particular one. I prefer to work with this as at the time I'm making this video. From 1 yard of my fabric, I am going to make my turban cap, and I'm going to cut out what I'll be using to make the design. Like I said, 1 yard will be enough. Okay, you will even have extra from 1 yard. Now I have cut out what I'll be using for my design, and this is it. From here to here is 30 inches. That's the width of this piece of fabric, while from here this way is 20 inches. That is the length of the fabric. Now we're going to be drawing some grid lines on our fabric, but for better understanding, I'll draft it on my paper so that you can see. I'll just cut out a small sheet and I'll draft my grid and I will explain further. Okay, now I want to illustrate my lines or pattern on this paper so that you can see and understand well. Let's say this is our fabric. The measurement is going to be 30 inches width by 20 inches length. 30 inches width by 20 inches length. Okay, but this is just a sample on a cardboard. You understand? If you're drafting it on your fabric, then you're following the same procedure. All right, on my paper I'm going to draw a rectangle on it, and I'm just going to measure 1 inch away from the edges of my paper to draw my rectangle, just to have that allowance. All right, before we proceed. So let me draw the rectangle. I just measure 1 inch away from the edges like this. 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch this way. So I've done that. Can you see? I've done that. Can you see? Now we're going to be drawing some lines, some grid lines on this way. Remember, this is the width of our fabric and it's 30 inches, and this is the length, which is 20 inches. So I'm going to draw lines on it and give it a spacing of about 1 inch. That's 1 inch like that. If you want to make yours 1.5 inches, please go ahead and do 1.5 inches spacing, but you need to extend the width of your fabric, the width and the length of your fabric. All right, so I'll go ahead and draw the lines. I just use my ruler and measure 1 inch like that. 1 inch. Now I've drawn my lines, as you can see. So the distance in between the lines is 1 inch. You have to make them equal. It has to be 1 inch. If you're using 1 inch, then it has to be equal. If you're using 1.5 inch, make the distance 1.5 inches all through. So this is for the 30 inches part. Now we're going to turn our fabric or paper this way. This is the 20 inches part, and we're going to do the same and draw lines of 1 inch spacing. Now we have this. Okay, so the next step is to start drawing some diagonal lines into our grid. Whatever I'm doing on this paper now is what I'm going to transfer to my fabric. I'm only explaining this on the paper so I can see clearly and understand better. From the 30 inches part, this is the 30 inches part of our paper. All right, so I'm going to start drawing diagonal lines on it, starting from here. Let's start with this first column. Okay, from here I'll just draw this line, diagonal line, on inside one of the box. Can you see? So I continue from here and draw. Can you see? I continue like this and I draw in the next box like I'm doing zigzag. I continue again in the next box, continue like that. Now, this is where I am. So this is the first line. I'm going to skip this one, the second line, the second set of boxes. Okay, so that's the second column. I'm going to skip it and I'm going to continue from here, from the third one. Can you see? I'll just draw like that. Like that. All the way down. Okay, so I've drawn my diagonal lines like that on the second column. I'm going to skip the next one and repeat the same procedure on the very next one. We're skipping this one, then we'll move to the next one. I will draw my lines like that, the same way, like that. Okay, so right here, I'll skip this column and move on to the next one and draw the same zigzag, like I'm doing zigzag, you know. Now I'm going to transfer this procedure onto my fabric the same way. Though the fabric looks bigger than the paper, yes, but just use the same procedure and do that on the fabric. Alright, as you can see, I've transferred or I've drawn my grid lines onto my fabric as explained using my paper. Now I'm going to start sewing my needle through my lines. Yes, just follow what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew my needle through my lines to form my ruffles. So starting from here, this first box here, remember we did this grid up, down. So we're starting from this one and take my needle and thread through like this. I hope you can see. And I'm going to bring my needle and thread up here and just take it through like this. Can you see? Now I come to this side. You know it's in zigzag manner, so I'm just going to follow that zigzag manner. I come to the down part. I'm working on the first column here. That's the first box, first set of boxes this way. So I take my needle and thread through this third box. Can you see? And I bring it out like that. Take my needle and thread through like this. Can you see? Then I come here and I'm going to take my needle and thread through. I'm just following that zigzag manner. Please make your thread very long for this project. When you're sewing on each box, you need to make your thread long enough to cover up the whole process. Can you see? So I come here. So starting from here, I took my needle and thread through. I came up, I took my needle and thread through. I came down, I took my needle and thread through like that, like I'm doing zigzag till I finish up this first column. So let me just finish up like that. I come up here, I come down, I take my needle and just little, then I come up again, I come down, I come up, come down, so I'm going to continue that zigzag manner, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, so I've gotten to this last point like that, and we're going to just drop the thread. You need to have your thread very long, so I'll just drop the thread here and just tie a knot so that it doesn't move away or go back in. Okay, so just tie a knot here. So that's for the first box. Now I'm going to continue with the same procedure on the next one. Now remember, while we were drawing our grids, our diagonal lines, we did it on the first one, we skipped the second one, then we moved to the third one. So we're going to skip the second one the same because there are no lines on it. There are no lines on the second column, so we're going to move on to the third column and we'll use the same procedure. Okay, now let me show you again on the second color. Let me show you the procedure again. I decided to use another color of thread so that you can see clearly. Perhaps you didn't see the first one clearly. So this is the first one. We skip this next column and we are onto the third column. So I'm going to pick, starting from here. Remember, I started this way. So I'm going to pick the fabric from here, take my needle and thread through like that, and I'll continue up from here. Can you see? So I move down, and I come up, I pick it here, zigzag manner, in a zigzag manner. It's very, very easy. Then I come down, I come up, I come down like that. So I'm going to continue like that till I get to the end of this column. Then I come to the, I skip the next column, move on to the fifth one. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I did it on the first one, skip the second one, I'll do it down on the third one, skip the fourth one, and I come to the fifth one, and I do the same like that till I finish up this fabric. So while I'm doing that, I'll be dropping the thread. Alright, once I finish up this line, I just cut the excess. I leave an excess and take away the thread, the needle, and just tie a knot there so it doesn't move away. So I'm just going to continue like that. continue like that till I get to the end of this column. So I've gotten to this end and I'm going to give it extra and I'll just tie this knot here so that it doesn't go back in. So we're going to continue like that, this way, this way, this way, till I finish up this fabric. I am done taking my needle and thread through, as you can see. So these are all the threads and we're just going to pull. We'll pull together them gently and nicely. And you need to arrange it properly. You need to arrange it properly. You can turn it over just for you to see. So it depends on how you want it to really smoke. If you want it to have some spacings, please release it. Don't make it too tight. So I'm done. I'm actually satisfied with where I am at the moment. So, and you're going to pick each of this and you tie. Remember the thread is double, just pick and tie each of them like that. We're going to fold in half like this. Can you see? And we're going to sew from here this way, and from here this way, and from here this way, all round. Then we'll leave an opening here like 2 inches. Now I've sewn it, as you can see, and this is where we have our opening, and I'm going to use this opening to turn the right side of the fabric out. So this is it, and from the opening we are going to insert our fiber. Okay, you can use small pieces of foams if you don't have fiber. That's in place of fiber, you can use small pieces of foams. All right, so I'm going to insert my fiber inside like this. So I have inserted my fiber, and I'm going to just use my needle and thread to sew this. That's our opening. I'll use my needle and thread to close it up like this. Okay, so I'm done tacking that part, and the next step is for us to attach our design to our turban base. This is my front gathered V-shaped turban. So you're going to place your cap on your mannequin head and mark where you want to place your design. If you want it on the left hand side, on the right hand side, just place your cap on your mannequin head and set your design on it to know where you want to place it. Okay, so I placed my design on my cap while it was on my mannequin head, and I used my pin to hold it down to it, just for me to know where it's going to be staying. Can you see? Okay, so I'm going to start using my needle and thread to tack to secure it to my design, to my turban cap. did this on the front part of the design. You can repeat the same procedure on the back part so that it should stay very well.